What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. That's right, the only sports podcast. I'm Will. That's usually where Casino would be, but today he had a doctor's appointment. He has the immune system of the bubble boy without the bubbles. So kind of looks like the bubble boy too. But that means today it is just a solo show. If I can center myself up right here, Casino might join us, but who knows? So we are going to do the picks. I don't have Casino's picks, and I am currently ahead in the pick pool 158 to 152 going into the final week, but we also count college football, playoffs, Super Bowl, all that kind of stuff. So there is a chance for Casino to come back. I'm just not going to let him. So for week 18, we're going to be talking about the games here. Hopefully we get some comments, some people joining us, and we can make this a fun show. Maybe Casino jumps in, maybe not. It's still up in the air as we're talking about it. But first off, right off the bat, just wanted to say Happy New Year's. 2025 was by far our most successful our most successful show we have ever done our most successful year, I'm sorry, we have ever done on YouTube, across the board, all our numbers, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. So thank you to everybody who's made this year better, who's made this year our most successful year ever. Let's do more of it in 2026. We're going to be more consistent, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully Casito's not sick all the time so he can be here with us. But let's, without further ado, let's get into the final week of the NFL season, week 18, with so much on the line. We have the NFC West, the NFC South, the AFC North, and the AFC West still on the line going into this final week. So let's get into it. It is time for the good, the mid, and the ugly. Week 18, and that's for everybody watching. Happy New Year tonight. The year becomes 2026, but right now we are talking about the last week of the NFL. You know what, usually we do good, mid, and the ugly, and we have to start with the good, which is obviously the two Saturday games, one for the NFC South, one for the NFC West. So let's go in order. We are talking about the 8-8 Panthers traveling to the 7-9 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, we just saw these two play, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, and we saw the Panthers beat the Bucs 20-23, or I'm sorry, 23-20. The interesting thing now is the new wrinkle that has been thrown into this, the new monkey wrench that has been thrown into this matchup is now the Panthers can lose and still get into the playoffs with the Buccaneers. If they win and the Falcons win, they still get knocked out of the playoffs. So really this game comes down to all of a sudden a Falcons game against a white hot New Orleans Saints game, which also makes that game much more interesting because depending on who wins in this one, that Falcons game might mean a whole lot. And if you're the Falcons, obviously you want to end the year with two big victories back to back. But I think the cherry on top would be, oh, you're knocking out the Bucs where they can't win a division title for, I believe, the 6th year in a row. So when it comes to this matchup, the Bucs, again, started the season so hot, have lost now 4 in a row. 3 of those 4 to NFC South divisional opponents. So the last win they had was all the way back in November 30th. So they haven't won in a month. Last 3 games, they've lost 24-20 to the Saints, 29-28 to the Falcons, 23-20 to the Panthers, and then obviously this last Sunday, they lost 20-17 to the Dolphins. So I don't know how, again, in this same mix, Panthers had a late bye, which I feel like helps to always have a late bye. I'd much rather have a late bye for my team than ever an early bye. The late bye in week 14, but then they also went on a bye after that huge win against the Rams. Then they lost by 3 to the Saints, won by 3 against the Buccaneers, and then had that awful game last week against the Seahawks where Bryce Young threw for, I believe, 54 yards. So it's not like the Panthers are going into this game with some huge momentum swing when you look at this matchup, because yes, the Bucs have lost all momentum in the past month, but the Panthers are coming off one of their worst games of the year, not only by their team, but by their quarterback. Pretty much every facet of their team kind of got ran over, ran through, exposed a little last week against one of obviously the, top tier teams in this league in the Seattle Seahawks. So when we look at Panthers Bucs, I don't know how you can go with the Buccaneers. We've already seen these two teams match up 2 weeks ago. Bucs lost by 3 points. How are we not seeing the exact same scenario play out in this situation where it's going to be a one-score game? Panthers, I see winning by maybe 7, or maybe they just 3. Maybe it's 3 again, and we just get a almost carbon copy repeat of what we saw 2 weeks ago. But again, I don't know if I'm a fan of these divisional matchups where you now have the division on the line is obviously great, especially when it's in week 18. But I also don't like the aspect of, oh, the division's on the line and these two teams are playing each other when we just saw them play 2 weeks ago. Like, why are these divisional games not stretched out more to where we're not getting them every other week? Because mostly divisional games, they're kind of ugly games because the teams know each other. They play each other 2, sometimes 3 teams a year, or 3 times a year if they both get to the playoffs. So it's just one of those things where I wish we could switch out more of the divisional games, like make them more spaced out during the season. But we're getting some comments now. Evan Claire F6R says, hi, how are you doing today? Just fantastic. And then that little emoji. But yeah, so who do we think wins between the Panthers and the Bucs? I'm going with the Panthers. I've picked the Panthers all year. They were my dark horse team at the beginning of the season to actually be pretty good, because one of our actually few smart commenters on TikTok, the YouTube comments are night and day difference between the TikTok. TikTok is just the worst people on the planet comment on TikTok. It's obnoxious. But one of the few smart TikTok comments actually pointed out that the Panthers defense at the end of the year was a top 10 defense and really underrated and underlooked about how good they were defensively. And then this year you look at it and they've fallen off a little, where the 15th best defense in terms of total defense, but their offense is really the issue this year, which again, those stats for total offense, it's based on yards, and you're damn sure going to fall way past where you thought you would when your quarterback throws for 54 yards. So they're 27th in the league in total offense this year. Now, again, those numbers are skewed because of how bad last week was. But in terms of rushing, they're the number 11 rush offense. Rico Dowdle having a fantastic year. So Tedero McMillan most likely going to win Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then Bryce Young, again, 21 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 2,700 yards, 63% completion percentage. Not bad, not great, but again, on a team where they're one win away, and that means either they beat the Bucs or the Falcons win. So they're technically 2 wins away, but they can get either or. So either Falcons win or Panthers win, and they're in. Tampa Bay now needs to not only beat Carolina, but then wait till Sunday afternoon to see if the Saints can take care of the Falcons, which I think they can. So I wouldn't be too worried about that because the Saints have been good. But then again, the Falcons on Monday night just beat the Rams. So there you go. Next up, the good this week. I mean, this is maybe the game of the week. They have it on Saturday night. Actually, it is going to be my pick for game of the week and best game. So I don't know what Casino's going to have. This is my pick for best game. I also don't have any of Casino's picks. So I'll update everybody on what his picks are on Friday's show. But right now, he did not send me any picks. I don't know if he's coming on the show. So we're just rolling, buddy. I have for the Saturday game, Saturday night, Seattle Seahawks 11-3 at the 12-4 San Francisco 49ers. 49ers are at home for the rest of the season, including if they get to the Super Bowl, which is a wrinkle we've never seen before. So, or I think we did see it with the Rams. A couple of years ago, I believe the Super Bowl took place at SoFi where the Rams won their Super Bowl. So second time we've seen it, and both in California. That's weird. When it comes to the Seahawks and 49ers, see, this is, I feel like a much harder game to pick than what we saw from the Panthers and the Tampa Bay Bucs, because again, Panthers we've seen be good. Bucs have basically lost all momentum the past week of the season or the past month of the season. I'm sorry. And then when it comes to the 49ers and the Seahawks, both teams have looked great. Both teams have things you like about them. And these two teams have not played since what? They played in week 1. Wow. So these two teams play the first game of the season and last game of the season. See, that's what I want from these divisional matchups. I don't like when they're a week apart from each other, or 2 weeks apart from each other. Make them literally, week 1 and then the last week. That's perfect. So the first time these two teams played, the Seahawks lost to the 49ers 13-17, which is how we got this last matchup in week 18 where winner take all in this division, because they would split the series and then end up with, I believe it's common opponent and divisional record and all that kind of stuff. So 49ers, if they win this, they're the number 1 seed in the NFC in total, and then they win the NFC West, all that kind of stuff. So this does feel like a much bigger game for the 49ers, because the 49ers, again, the Super Bowl is in San Francisco. They would finish the season with 5 home games, which is just insane. And then the Seahawks right now currently sit at the number 1 seed. So I'm not saying this game isn't important for Seattle, because obviously they would have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. But this just feels like, if you're San Francisco, this is one of the biggest golden opportunities any team maybe has ever had to play again the last 5 games of the season, when you're going to, if you win this game, be a 13-win team, go into the playoffs, and then also have the Super Bowl in your home stadium. That just seems like a no-brainer for 49ers, just being like, this is a must-win game. Now, obviously, Seattle, it's a must-win game, and this is where the Sam Darnold of it all kind of rears his ugly head. I mean, he's got a beautiful head. I don't know what I'm talking about. He's a good looking guy. But what I'm saying is, last year they were almost, and by they, I mean Darnold and the Vikings, were in this almost carbon copy exact replica of what the situation is right now, where it was a divisional game. You win that game, you win the division. I believe, I don't know if it was for the number 1 seed, maybe it was number 1 or 2 seed, but a lot on the line in that last game last season. And instead of winning that game and then, being the Vikings starting quarterback for the future, building off that, all that kind of stuff, we saw what happened, which was he lost that game. He looked bad. Their first playoff game, he looked worse than that game. And then Vikings decided to let him go. He goes to Seattle. Vikings fall on their face all season. And now Seattle's fighting for the number 1 seed. So really, this game comes down to, do you trust San Francisco and Purdy in that offense with McCaffrey over Sam Darnold and one of, if not the best defense in the league? So again, a defense last week that held Bryce Young to 54 yards and 1 interception. So I don't know. Again, I trust Purdy and this 49ers team much more. Obviously, they've been to a Super Bowl with Purdy, and basically a better version of this team, because they lost pretty much every star defensive player they had from that Super Bowl team pretty much this offseason. They're mostly on the Broncos now, but this defense for the 49ers is night and day difference between that Super Bowl team and this team. The 49ers defense is 19th in the league in total defense. And honestly, I feel like when you watch this defense, it's worse than that, because pass defense, they're 25th in the league, and then running defense, so they're sixth, which is good news for the Seahawks, because I feel like the Seahawks don't run the ball that much. They don't, well, not only do they not run it that much, they're just not good at it. I believe they are, oh, yeah, they're 16th in the league in total rushing offense. So they're averaging about 120 yards per game. Honestly, much higher than I thought they would. I don't like either of the Seattle running backs. I know that may shock people because I drafted Kenneth Walker, but that was more of there was nobody else good at that time where I drafted him. But I just don't like Kenneth Walker. I don't like Charbonnet, or however you say his last name. I don't like their two-headed duo, because I feel like two-headed duos only work when you clearly have a dominant guy and then a really good underutilized guy. I feel like the Seahawks just kind of both have middle of the road guys, as we always say on this podcast, kind of Tony Pollard guys who are just, they're good as the two in the 1-2 punch. But if you both have two number twos, who's the number one? And again, Kenneth Walker is apparently the number one until you get to the red zone, and then they just always put in Charbonnet, however you say his name. And that's what screwed me over in my fantasy team. I mean, that injuries, bad drafting, me being awful at fantasy, all those things screwed me over at fantasy. But Sam Darnold, also this year, 3,800 yards, 67% completion percentage, 25 touchdowns, 14 interceptions is good. It's good. I mean, it's not great. It's obviously, this is a team that is going, if they're going to win in the playoffs, it's going to be by defense. Can they do that? Absolutely. We've seen years where defense wins championships is the most truest moniker in all of sports, because we've seen years. I mean, you think of the 2015 Broncos, where they just took a Peyton Manning who couldn't throw the ball farther than 10 yards a pass to the Super Bowl, when he had double the amount of interceptions he had touchdowns. We've seen it with the Baltimore Ravens in 2000. We've seen it with the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson's first couple years where they went to the Super Bowl that first time. We've seen elite defenses basically drag mediocre to bad offenses to a Super Bowl and win. So now I think this offense with the Seahawks is obviously better than that Ravens team, obviously better than that Broncos team, and kind of on par with that other Seahawks team. So I do think the weirdest thing about the NFC West teams are that they all kind of run the same style of offense, just a different way, where it's basically all of the offensive plays are just funneled through one player. For the Seahawks, it's Jackson Smith and Jigba. For the 49ers, it's Christian McCaffrey. And then for the, for the Rams, it's Puka Nacua. Like 90% of the snap count, offensive snap count, I feel like on each team goes through those three players. Now, obviously, their quarterbacks are all good to great. Stafford, I still think, wins MVP even after a bad performance on Monday night. Casino says otherwise. He thinks it's going to be Drake May. But these offenses are all very similar, with obviously varying degrees of, being the best offense in this division. I'd probably put Seattle as the third best offense in the NFC West, 49ers at second, and then obviously the Rams at number one, with the Cardinals being a distant fourth. But when it comes to this game, let me put this up right here. Who wins, the Seahawks or the 49ers on Saturday night? Whoop. It's popping up on the screen right now. Who wins, Seahawks or 49ers? See, I really like that Seahawks defense, but I just think this 49ers offense is just going to find a way. Like, I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I don't think this is going to be some crazy fireworks shootout like we just saw with Bears and 49ers, because Bears defense is also bad. So I think the 49ers defense is bad, but yeah, you know what? I'm overthinking it. Defense. I'm going with the Seahawks. I don't want either of these teams obviously have home field advantage. I was hoping for the Rams to get home field advantage because I'm an Eagles fan and I feel like it's much easier to go to LA, where 70% of the crowd's going to be Eagles fans than it is to either go into San Francisco or Seattle, where their home crowd is going to be going absolutely crazy. But Eagles are actually a good road team this year. So, yeah, I'm going with the Seahawks. Plus, I'd rather face Darnold in a playoff game than I would this 49ers team, just because I've seen this 49ers team turned on the playoffs with McCaffrey healthy, with Purdy healthy, and get to the Super Bowl. With the Seahawks, again, until I see it, I'm just expecting a repeat of what we saw from the Darnold on the Vikings last year. So my pick for who wins Seahawks or 49ers, I'm going with the Seahawks. It's also my best game of the week. I think this game is going to be fantastic. It's going to be in prime time. I'm just praying we don't see a Darnold meltdown. I'm just praying. But next up, let's go to the next good game. Now's where we start jumping around. We covered both the Saturday games. Now we have to go for the game that is for the AFC West, or not for the AFC West anymore, because the Chargers lost. So I have to change that. But this is for, I believe, still the number one seed. So with this, it is the 11-5 Chargers at the 13-3 Denver Broncos. So obviously Broncos want to win this game to secure home field advantage and that number one seed throughout the playoffs. Chargers want to win this game, I think, or do the Chargers even want to win this game? I guess the Chargers want to win this game to avoid being the 7th seed in the playoffs. But let's see, in the first round, if you're the Chargers, would you rather want to play the Patriots or the Jaguars? So the Bills, right? If the standings stayed currently where they are, it would be the first round of the playoffs would be Bills, Patriots, Chargers, Jaguars. Well, yeah, if you're the Chargers, you don't want to play the Jaguars. You played them a month ago and they wiped the doors up. They destroyed you. I think they won by 4 touchdowns. So if you're the Chargers, I feel like you kind of just want to rest your starters, especially you're already banged up. You want to rest your starters and then take a shot going against the Patriots, or do you want revenge against the Jaguars? I don't know. Again, I feel like Jaguars are one of the hottest teams in the NFL. Patriots, again, also one of the hottest teams in the NFL, but the difference is Jaguars have scored 25 plus points in, I believe, 12 games this season. And coincidentally, they're 12-4. The Patriots, again, if you're a believer in and I'm kind of half in, I'm a fence sitter on this aspect where it's, are the Patriots this good, or are they just bad schedule merchants? I feel like you can make the case either or. Now, again, if Casino was here, he would say, oh, it doesn't matter and all that kind of stuff. The Patriot, when you take, and this is what I try to do when I'm talking about the Eagles, just try to remove the fan aspect of it and just put your ball knowledge of the NFL just on display, and just say, are the Patriots the second or best or third best? Are they a top 3 team in the NFL, or are they easy schedule merchants? And I feel like you can make the case either way. I think the Patriots are good. Do I think they're a 13-win team good? No, because I don't think, again, their defense is top 7 in the league. They have a top 7 total defense, and their offense is top 4 in the league. So they have a top 7 defense, have a top 4 offense. Do I think their offense is the 4th best offense in the league? I do not. I do think their defense is good. I do think they have a top 10 defense. So yeah, I'm kind of talking myself into, if I'm the Chargers, I want to take a shot. But I still want to take a shot at the Patriots over having to play the Jaguars again, because again, we've already seen what the Chargers Jaguars game looks like. Do I think a repeat of that? I mean, you kind of have to apply the same Darnold logic you do to Justin Herbert, which is just last year he had a MVP caliber season where he didn't turn the ball over more than, I believe he had 2 turnovers the entire year. First game against the Texans, he has 4 turnovers. So this year with that Jaguars defense, they're 12th in the total league, or 12th in total defense, and then the Patriots are 7th. But again, the difference between those is literally 7 yards. So, and the Jaguars have given up one more touchdown this season than the Patriots have allowed with a, again, much harder schedule. So it's really damned if you do, damned if you don't. Do you want to play with the devil you know or the devil you don't? Because the devil you do know whooped your ass by, again, what, 4 touchdowns a couple weeks ago. So, if you're the if you're the Broncos, you obviously have to play your starters. Chargers, you can make the case, sit everybody. It's more important to be healthy than it is to be the 7th or the 6th seed over the 7th seed. Right. I feel like you can make that justification for the Broncos. I feel like you have, not only do you have to win this game, you want to win this game to make your division rival go limping into the playoffs, to secure home field advantage in the playoffs and the number 1 seed. And then if you're the Patriots, again, you're playing a Dolphins team with nothing to lose that just upset one team going into the playoffs. And we've always seen, I mean, usually it's in Miami, but I feel like every year we get a weird, wonky Dolphins Patriots game. Every year, going back to the Brady years, where there's obviously the one year where Gronk doesn't take the right angle on the Hail Mary and they lose that game. But those games always happen in Miami. So I actually feel confident for the Patriots that this game is taking place in New England. But Ewers, is he good? Is he not? Honestly, that's not a good game, but let's just kind of move to it because we're talking about it. And I guess you could put it in as a good game because I know casinos worried that this is going to be another Dolphins upset. But let's talk about the 7-9 Dolphins traveling to the 13-3 Patriots. Who wins this one, Dolphins or Patriots? Now, again, I do think the worst thing that can happen in this scenario is the Dolphins upset the Patriots, because again, if you're the Patriots, you're coming off that huge Jets game that no one gives you any sort of credit for because all you hear is, well, it was the Jets. Like, of course, that's what you're going to do to the Jets. If you're the Dolphins, all of a sudden, Mike McDaniels now feels like he's playing for his job on a team that now all of a sudden feels like they're rallying around him. And maybe that team doesn't like Tua, and maybe they viewed Tua as the issue for that team. Do I think that's true? Not necessarily, but it's not like Tua was having a great year. And Ewers, he's 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 65% completion percentage. He doesn't look bad. He actually looks better than that. He also has 2 rushing touchdowns. So I think in the 2, I believe he's played in 2 games. In the 2 games he's played, I feel like he's looked better than these numbers indicate. And again, Tua has looked worse than his numbers indicate. He's got 20 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 2,600 yards. So I test when you're watching these games, Ewers has looked better in this system than Tua has for the past couple weeks, which is why I think the switch was made. But so if you're the Dolphins, you're playing with house money, right? And if you're the Dolphins players, if you like Mike McDaniel, this is where you rally around him, get a big victory against the potential number 1 seed in the AFC, your divisional opponent who's owned this division for 20 plus years. And then you go into the offseason with your head held high, just going like, oh, hey, maybe we figured out something here. We finish 8-9, and that was after a quarterback change, a young quarterback. Maybe we can build around, maybe get something for Tua, ship him to, I don't know, Arizona, and then get something for him, build in the draft, and then all of a sudden you're in a division with, Drake May has emerged as, potentially the next Tom Brady. I mean, that's what Casino would say. I think I still need to see a little bit more before we go there. But you have a division with Josh Allen, you have Drake May, and then is Ewers on that level? Of course not. But if you're Mike McDaniel, you go, well, maybe we can build something here to where we can compete in this division. I mean, we have to. Maybe Tua was the weak link and maybe they draft a quarterback. I don't know. So in this game, I'm building this up way too much. Of course, I'm going with the Patriots. I think it's going to be the Patriots, but I don't think this is going to be a repeat of the Jets game. I think this is going to be an ugly back and forth with maybe kind of going to feel like that Ravens game where maybe there's really nothing going on in the first half and then maybe even the halfway through the third quarter, all of a sudden Patriots turn it on, get an easy dub. But I feel like it's going to be tight early and then Patriots pull away after half. So let's move on to the next one. Let's actually get a good game here. And that is, I'm going through them. I'm going through them. Oh, where was the other one that I wanted to talk about? Oh, Sunday Night Football. And that is the 8-8 Ravens at the 9-7 Pittsburgh Steelers. Right off the bat, usually I tease with like who I'm picking. Right off the bat, I'm picking the Ravens. And it's for a very selfish reason, which is somebody on the TikTok video we did about the Steelers, where Casino and I were both like, oh yeah, the Steelers are probably going to finish like 9-8, like they always do, blah, blah, blah. Like just kind of that record, clearly talking about how the Steelers always finish like one or two above, a losing record. Like that's the Mike Tomlin way. One comment specifically on TikTok was like, nope, Steelers never finished 9-8. You guys are stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. So 2 months after that, if he said that and the Steelers actually do finish 9-8 after saying they would never finish 9-8, oh man, I'm going to run to that comment section to comment. I thought they'd ever turn 9-8, like a real asshole. But I also just think the playoff predictions, Vegas, all that kind of stuff, they clearly have more faith, I think rightfully so, in this Ravens team than in this Steelers team that, again, laid 6 points in kind of a must-win game last week against the Browns. And right now, currently, the playoff probability has the Ravens currently in the playoffs at 60% and the Steelers at 40%. So they clearly trust, they being Vegas, the odds makers, football people, clearly trust the Ravens over the Steelers, even in Pittsburgh. Again, I don't know what the line is for this game. I could look it up, but honestly, I don't really care. But I think that tells you everything you need to know, which is the odds favor the Ravens going into Pittsburgh more than Pittsburgh staying at home to win this game. When you look at the last month of what these Ravens and Steelers games have been, I really thought, the Steelers getting a big win against Detroit would kind of propel this team into, now we're snatching this division away from the Ravens. Everybody doubted us. Now we're going in with our heads held high. And then all of a sudden you just lay a goose egg in Cleveland. Again, that game was one of the weirdest games you're ever going to see, because it really did feel like the game plan was, let's just not let Myles Garrett sack Aaron Rodgers. And it just kind of stunted their entire offensive identity just around that stupid idea. Like, in retrospect, who cares? That's not going to hurt Rodgers' legacy at all. It just felt like one of those weird kind of side pieces just being played in real time during an actual football game. I don't know. Again, that was weird. And I watched that whole game. It was weird. Now, as far as the Ravens go, again, they got that big win against the Bengals, 24-0, shutting them down. That Patriots game, looking back on it, they most likely and probably should have won, because they controlled almost, again, 4 full quarters of that game. And then Patriots kind of just came back, took it from them, snatched a victory from the jaws of defeat. And then last week against the Packers, they completely dominated them with Derrick Henry, just showing why he is Derrick Henry and why the Ravens signed him. This should be just a repeat of that performance. Now, the Ravens lost to the Steelers 27-22 in week 14. This feels like a game where your minimum handing the ball to Derrick Henry 30 times this game. Like, just ride Derrick Henry into the playoffs. It worked so well for all those years he was a Titan. I mean, that's what basically ended the Belichick Brady tenure in New England, was Derrick Henry just destroying them when they play the Titans. So in this game, again, Steelers defense is not good. Ravens defense has improved slightly from when they were the worst defense in the league to now they're 25th. Steelers are 27th. So at one point this year, we were saying the Ravens had the worst defense in the league, because they did. At no point this year have we ever said this, have we ever heard the Steelers have a bad defense. And their defense currently is worse than the defense at one time was the worst defense in the league. So I don't know what happened to the Steelers defense. They're averaging 357 yards against for their opponent to gain against them. So the opposing offense is moving the ball to the tune of 357 yards of total offense a game, and they've given up 39 touchdowns, which the Ravens have also given up 39 touchdowns. So, but again, at no point have I heard a discussion about how bad the Steelers defense is, where for the first 2 months of the season, we couldn't stop talking about how the Ravens had the worst defense in the league. And then obviously offensively, Steelers 26th in the league and Ravens all the way up at 16th. So by every metric, the Baltimore Ravens have a better defense, have a better offense. They have two Pro Bowl quarterbacks with Tyler Huntley most likely starting this game and Lamar Jackson sitting out, or has that been updated? I mean, we'll probably, since we're recording this on a Wednesday, we'll probably get more on Friday, but it looks to be, oh, as of 3 hours ago, Lamar Jackson has returned to practice. So if he plays, again, I feel like I have more confidence with the Ravens, whether it's Lamar Jackson or Huntley. I don't feel like that shifts it that much because, again, this should be the Derrick Henry game. This should be old school AFC North smash mouth football where the Ravens win 14-11 and Derrick Henry gets the ball 32 times for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's exactly what this game should be. You want to protect Lamar Jackson, who's just had weird injury stuff all season. Just run the rock, run it down Pittsburgh's throat. They're not a good defense. You should be able to move the ball pretty effectively against them. Their rushing defense is 12th in the league. Ravens are 11th. They're giving up an average of 112 yards. And I guarantee you that's not on 30 plus carries to Derrick Henry. So I think they shut him down, if I remember correctly, the first time. This time, the Derrick Henry revenge game carries the Ravens into the playoffs. Right now, I have the Panthers winning the NFC South, the Seahawks winning the NFC West, and the Ravens winning the AFC North. And then obviously I messed up on the typo with AFC West still on the line because it isn't, because the Chargers shit the bed last week against this Baltimore Ravens team. So as far as good games go, I think that's it. I think that's all the marquee ones, unless we want to talk about, this will be the perfect game that is the good transitioning into us talking about the mid games, which is a really interesting game where it's 8-8 Detroit Lions at 11-5 Chicago Bears. And this one is interesting because if the Bears win this game, they are the number 2 seed. If the Bears lose this game and the Eagles win their game against the Commanders, they're the number 2 seed. But it's just come out right before I started recording this episode that the Eagles are sitting most of their starters in that game. So it looks like they think that the Bears are going to beat this game, Bears are going to win this game. The funniest outcome, even as an Eagles fan, I could say this would be funny, is if the Lions just absolutely destroy the Bears and those two games are going to be talking at the same time. What if you're the coach, what if all of a sudden, Detroit's up 21-0 at half, you guys both go into half, you're in a hell game with the Commanders because you have all your backups in. It's like 3-3. Lions are destroying the Bears. Do you then come out of halftime and just be like, all right, we're putting in our starters. Like, we got to try to win this game now. Does that matter in a 2-3 matchup? I think it matters a hell of a lot more than we were talking about the Chargers with the difference between the second to last or the last playoff spot. So that'll be interesting to see how both these teams kind of handle this type of seeding, which is obviously Chicago is a great home field advantage to have in the playoffs because it's cold weather, it's outside, you're going to be playing potentially, an NFC West team that has to travel from the West Coast to Chicago. So I don't know. I think if, as an Eagles fan, again, much like the Patriots thing, I'm kind of torn. much like the Chargers thing, actually, I'm torn where it's, do you want to rest your guys or do you want to go for it? Now, every Eagles fan remembers when a couple years ago, AJ Brown got hurt in the last game of the season, missed the wild card game. I believe it was against the Bucs, and they got annihilated in that game. Now, in retrospect, you can say, well, if AJ Brown was in that game, are they not getting destroyed by the Buccaneers? Probably not, but it is one of those sliding door moments where you just go, what would he have been the difference maker? Who knows? This game, or this last week of the season, I think I'm more content with the Eagles kind of resting everybody because they have seen a lot of injuries just to their big players, especially last week in Buffalo. I mean, like 4 starters got knocked out for periods of that game, from Saquon Barkley to Jalen Phillips to the kick returner, who we all saw how the Eagles lost that one game. I believe it was, oh crap, I think it was against Dallas, where their kick returners trying to come out of the end zone just gets lit up when he had nowhere to go and just should have let the ball go into the end zone. So again, I think if you're the Eagles, I'm okay with them sitting everybody last week of the season. Now the Bears, I don't think should sit everybody, because again, I feel like if you're Caleb Williams uh and the Bears, you want to go into the playoffs with the momentum. Haven't been there before. With the Eagles, they're obviously Super Bowl champs. I think they're going to be more comfortable with a first round home playoff game where everybody's rested. And the Bears, again, you're playing the Eagles, could still potentially, and probably still will, I'll still be picking them to beat the Commanders backups, because again, I think the Commanders uh have kind of given up and just have relegated themselves to being a top 10 pick. So when it comes to this game, we're talking about Bears Lions. I'm going with the Bears. I do think the Bears win. And then I think everybody avoids a, whole media cycle of, well, the Bears lost and then the Eagles set their start. Like, we, thank God we avoid that. That's what I'm, fingers crossed, I'm hoping we avoid that. But don't sleep on the Lions. I mean, they've kind of fallen off the past. Well, not kind of. They have fallen off since week 13. They've won one game, and that was that Monday night game against the Cowboys. Every other game, they lost that shootout against the Rams. They lost by 5 points to the Steelers. They lost by 13 points last Thursday on Christmas, which again, to the Vikings and Matt Brosmer. I don't know how that happens, but still, they lost to the Packers. So their last, since week 13, they are 1-4. And the Bears obviously are the polar opposite, where their last couple games, they're 3-2. So I don't know. Again, I think if you're the Bears, you start your starters and just go for that number 2 seed. I mean, you have to if you're in that scenario. But the Lions, you got to go out with something. You can't lose 8-9 after, this season, where once again, you were one of the 3 best teams, or supposedly one of the 3 best teams in the NFC. A lot of people were having you guys go to the Super Bowl. So Lions, Bears, I think it's going to be a good one. I'm still going with the Bears. I think they wrap up the season as the number 2 seed. Eagles are the number 3 seed. And then obviously whoever wins that Saturday NFC West game goes to the playoffs as the number 1 seed. So now let's move from the good games to the mid games. And I think, honestly, this has moved up with the stakes of this game now drastically making this game more important. We go to the 6-10 Saints at the 7-9 Falcons. Obviously, the 7-9 Falcons coming off that huge upset on Monday night, where for an entire half of football, they just completely dominated the LA Rams. And then all of a sudden, the third and fourth quarter happened, and Rams made this big comeback. That amazing catch by Puka Nacua that, again, wasn't a catch. You can make the distinction that it was or wasn't a catch, but I think if you're going to also, that was not pass interference, that last pass where they're like, oh, that was pass interference, they should have got a field goal. That one, I'll say, no, it wasn't. That was not pass interference. The Puka Nacua catch, I will say, I mean, I think that was a catch. Again, it bobbles a little, but when it comes to fully maintaining the ball, I feel like he had that ball in his control, in his hands. That was a catch, in my opinion. But that's, in the past at the moment, because the Falcons won that game. So they are now 7-9, taking on the 6-10 New Orleans Saints NFC South matchup, where again, this game is interesting because as we talked about with the Panthers and Bucs, Falcons win this game and it knocks the Buccaneers out of the playoffs, regardless of if they win or lose against the Panthers. So Panthers win, they win the division, they are in the playoffs. Bucs win, they still need the Falcons to lose, which is crazy to me that there is a real possibility where the Falcons, if they would have just won one of the last games, I mean, we think about the week 13 game where they lost by 3 points to the Jets. If they won against that Jets team and now all of a sudden they were 8-9, there would be a real chance here where the Bucs beat the Panthers and then the Falcons win this game and they are in the playoffs instead of most likely going to be the Panthers. But in this scenario, I do think the Saints, however, are just white hot, and they have just ended this season with Shuck on just 4 straight wins, one of them being against the Bucs, one of them being against the Panthers. They destroyed the Jets, and then they won that shootout with the Titans. I mean, Casino and I will admit when we're wrong because we're wrong all the time, but we didn't understand why Kellen Moore was making the switch from Spencer Rattler to Tyler Shuck. And then all of a sudden, Tyler Shuck is now playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC, especially with how we've seen kind of these NFC quarterbacks just be so hot and cold every week. I mean, Bryce Young threw for 54 yards last week. So now Shuck on the season, past couple games, past month, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 68% completion percentage, 2,100 yards. And then he's also ran for 2 touchdowns and 152 yards. So again, I've always liked Kellen Moore as a play caller. He's basically the reason why the Eagles offense was elite and so potent last year and is now just, a dumpster fire offensively because Kellen Moore was such a good offensive coordinator. It looks like he brought that same mentality, that same offensive ability to New Orleans and kind of found the right quarterback to fit his system. So shout out to the Saints. That being said, the Falcons are coming off that big Monday night game. Cousins has been fine. Bijan Robinson, again, they won that game strictly because of Bijan Robinson. So let's look at the Saints rush defense right here. The Saints rush defense is 23rd in the league. So again, do we see a repeat performance by Bijan Robinson where he single-handedly takes over this game and beats the Saints team? I think this is going to be a fun game. I think with the added drama of we'll know going into this game if the Bucs or the Panthers won that Saturday game. So I think that'll take a little bit of the air out of the balloon for this game, but I'm going with the Falcons. But I think the Saints will show up and put on a show. I'm going with the Falcons carrying momentum from Monday Night Football. Let's keep going. Next up, we have the 8-8 Indianapolis Colts at the 11-5 Houston Texans. Now, the story coming out of this game is Phillip Rivers will not play this last game, and instead it'll be Riley Leonard. Again, it's a meaningless game. Last week was kind of meaningless too for the Colts, even though there was, I believe, like a 5% chance they made the playoffs if they won that game. So sucks to be Phillip Rivers. Again, it was a good story, but it is kind of hard to justify where it's like, oh yeah, we brought this guy back for 3 games. We went 0-3 and now we're just going right back to the guy we brought in Phillip Rivers to replace because we didn't believe in him. So I don't know if you're Riley Leonard. This is pretty much an audition to see if you can get a backup role on another team next year, unless you want to stay with the Colts where they brought back a damn near 50-year-old quarterback to, play. I don't think he's that old, 45-year-old quarterback to play in your spot. But yeah, the Colts, again, started 6-1, finished 1-7 or finished 0-7. I don't think they won another game after Daniel Jones left. So they've looked rough. Last 5 games, they're 0-5, and the only close one really being against the Seahawks. I mean, that Jaguars game was close last week until it wasn't, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, where's this Jaguars team been this entire season? But losing 3 divisional games to the Jaguars twice, the Texans, again, it feels like the Texans are just going to win this game as well, kind of same fashion they did the first game, 20-16. I feel like this will be a 20-7 game, maybe 14-7 game, where the Texans kind of just impose their will on this Colts team, looking for an answer since they lost Daniel Jones and just really haven't found it. I mean, he apparently was the perfect quarterback to run that Shane Steichen offense. And the Colts are going to finish 8-9 and miss the playoffs after being 6-2. So all those Daniel Jones truther, your case for him just got much bigger. So I'm going with the Texans on that one as well. And then we're moving right along to, let's go to the Packers and Vikings. Packers 9-6-1 at 8-8 Minnesota Vikings. When it comes to this game, I believe Jordan Love is not playing this game. I feel like it'd be insane if he was playing this game. We're looking it up right now. It doesn't, nothing. We're not seeing really anything. It's still saying TBD for week 18. I don't know. I don't think he should play this game. I don't think he will play this game, especially with what Malik Willis has done when he's come in for reserve for Jordan Love. I think the downgrade is evident, but I don't think it's like an A+ to an F, downgrade. I think it's like a to probably a B-. Like, I don't think it's that big of a drop off. And again, I like Malik Willis. I like what we've seen from him in this Packers offense, in this Matt LaFleur offense. So I think when it comes to this game, again, if you're the Vikings, you're just playing with house money at this point, trying to go out on the season with 2 huge wins over 2 divisional opponents after spanking the Lions on Thursday night. And then, you're on the Vikings are ending the year on a 4-game win streak. And those 4 victories were a shutout blowout against the Commanders, an upset over the Cowboys when the Cowboys basically needed that game to still be in the playoff contention, a 3-point win against the Giants, and then a 13-point blowout on Christmas against the Lions. So if you're the Vikings, again, Packers on a 3-game skid. Now, again, those 3 games are Broncos, Bears, Ravens. So 3 potentially playoff teams if the Ravens can get in. So if you're the Vikings, you have all the momentum going into this game. The Packers already, since the Micah Parsons injury, since they lost, was it Walker, the linebacker, in that one game? So obviously they lost Jordan Love for at least a game if he starts this one. So if you're the Packers, not only are you limping into the playoffs, but you're legitimately limping. And then you're limping in the fact that you haven't won a game in a month, in 3 weeks. And the Vikings are, 4-game win streak. So you know what? I'm picking the Vikings in an upset. I think Vikings end up winning this game. The Packers and Packers fans even feel less confident in their team going into the playoffs after losing 4 in a row, one of them being to this Vikings team that just has nothing to play for except pride at this point. So I'm going with the Vikings in the upset. That's going to be my upset pick of the week right there. And then I believe that's the last even mid game. I think the rest of the games we can kind of roll through them. Got about 10 minutes left here. So let's just roll through the last games right here. We have the 4-12 Cleveland Browns at the 6-10 Cincinnati Bengals. I'll tell you what, nothing ignited this Bengals team more than suddenly realizing they're out of the playoffs, have no shot, and are just playing for shits and giggles at this point, because since that happened where they were officially eliminated from the playoffs, they were in that shootout with the Bills. They almost won, got blown out by the Ravens. That was really the nail in the coffin for their playoff chances. And then since then, 45 points against the Dolphins, 37 points against the Cardinals. Joe Burrow's on the sideline making funny faces while Joe Flacco just looks like he's frozen solid. So the Browns, on the other hand, coming off against that big big upset win against the Steelers where they won scoring 13 points. Before that, they lost to the Bears. They lost to the Bills. They got blown out by the Bears, lost in that shootout to the Titans, and then got blown out against the 49ers. So Shador Sanders is really the discussion of this game, of this team. Since they made the switch, however, Shador Sanders, 7 touchdowns, 10 receptions. Dylan Gabriel, when he was in there, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So again, was it the right choice? I guess publicity-wise it was. Maybe team-wise, not so much. Dylan Gabriel, again, it's not like he was setting the world on fire, but Shador Sanders has just been throwing 2 dumb interceptions a game. But again, he's a rookie. They're both rookies. I don't know how much you judge that. Again, you're also on the Browns. Who knows? As far as the Bengals, I think Bengals continue this domination, put up a bunch of points, win this game. Really, if you're the Browns fans, all you want to see from this game is some progression from Shador Sanders. Hopefully this is a shootout, and then you want to see Myles Garrett break that sack record. So he's 1 away from the sack record, and in week 1, he sacked Joe Burrow twice. So you're just hoping he can get 1 this time. Drop my pen. You're hoping he can get 1 this time and break the record. I think he honestly only needs a half, but that wouldn't be fun if he gets a half to break the record. We want a full sack. So yeah, hopefully he gets that 1 sack, but I still think Bengals win this game. Next up, let's go to the 3-13 Tennessee Titans at the 12-4 Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I'm sure there's a scenario where Chargers beat Broncos, Patriots lose, Jaguars win, Jaguars are the number 1 seed. Now, I don't think that happens because I don't think the Chargers or the Dolphins beat the Patriots. But if those 2 upsets happen, they're going to happen later in the afternoon. So all Jacksonville has to do is win. I don't think the Titans are at the caliber. In fact, it's not that I don't think. I know they're not at the caliber of this Jaguars team, hence them having polar opposite schedules or polar opposite records after this game. I think the Titans finished the season 3-14. Jaguars finished the season, and people get so mad when I say Jaguars, Jaguars, however you want to say it. I don't care. It's just really funny that everybody gets so triggered by me saying Jaguars. That's just how I say it. I like saying Jaguars. I know it's not right. We've had this discussion on the show before. I know I say their name wrong. I just like saying Jaguars. So I'm picking the Jaguars to win this game, be 13-4, have a shot at the 1 seed, but I still think the Broncos and Patriots win their 2 respective games to make the Jaguars the 3rd seed. But could the Jaguars be the number 1 seed? Yes, there's a possibility. They just need a lot of help. And as far as this game for the Titans side, again, you just want to see something from Cam Ward. 15-7 this year, touchdowns, interceptions, 60% completion percentage, 3,100 yards. Honestly, for how bad the Titans have been, not bad stats at all, especially when he doesn't have a clear number 1 wide receiver. He doesn't really have anybody to throw to. Tony Pollard over 1,000 yards this season with 5 touchdowns. So again, maybe use your draft pick on some weapons offensively for Cam Ward, and the Titans might have a Panthers-esque season next year where they go from worst to first, again, in that division where Jaguars, again, have been real shaky the past couple of years, have been real hot or cold. Same with the Colts, same with the Texans. So it's not like this is, a just juggernaut conference. It feels like a conference where every year the good team kind of switches in and out. Jaguars are always kind of there, but are they the best? This year they do feel like a sneaky AFC team, but who knows? Next up, we are talking about the 7-8-1 Cowboys at the 3-13 New York Giants. Nothing much to talk about this game because the Cowboys, even when they're good, when they're bad, they always have one thing in common with those teams, and that is just absolutely destroying the Giants. So Cowboys should win this game in a blowout. Actually, this is my blowout of the week. I'm picking Cowboys to assert their dominance, just blow out the Giants, go into the offseason with the same saying the same thing they say every year, which is this wasn't our year, but next year will be. So, Cowboys fans, you can, go out the season puffing your chest up that you finish 8-1 and miss the playoffs. Next up, let's go to the 3-13 Jets at the 11-5 Buffalo Bills. Buffalo coming off that tough loss where Josh Allen had a guy in the back of the end zone for the 2-point conversion that he did not convert. Jets coming off just pretty much shut it down, especially against the Patriots, where they let Drake May throw 5 touchdowns in 3 quarters. So, Buffalo, this should be the bounce back game for you guys. Do you rest starters? Do you want to be the 6th seed? I feel like you want to be the 7th seed and go play New England again, a team you've already beat, a team that is in your division that you see every year, over, again, a Jaguars team at that 3 seed that I just feel like is going to be kind of the, again, devil you know, devil you don't know. You know who the Patriots are. If I'm the Bills, I'd much rather play the Patriots right now because you have beat them than play that Jaguars team that looks like potentially the best team in the AFC. So, Buffalo, I feel like you should rest all your starters, but who knows? They probably won't. Again, it's also the Jets, so you could potentially be resting your starters by halftime anyway. So who knows what's going to happen in that one? But I know what's going to happen in that one in terms of wins or losses. It's going to be the Bills regardless. So Bills on that one. Last couple games here, I believe we have 3. And just coincidentally, Eagles game's going to be last. There you go. Next up, we have the 3-13 Arizona Cardinals at the 11-5 Los Angeles Rams. Again, Rams also feel like one of those teams that could just rest everybody because they're basically locked in. If they would have won that Monday night game, then there was a possibility they still won the division, potentially got the number 1 seed with a win. And I think they would have to have had the Seahawks win maybe. Because if 49ers won out, they won the division. If Rams won out, they won the division with one of the Seattle Seahawks losses. So there you go. Rams, pretty much nothing to play for. Probably going to sit everybody. But that being said, I'll still go Rams. Because, again, if they don't sit anybody, I'm going to feel dumb picking the Cardinals. Who knows? Last 2 games right here. We're going with the Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders. If you're the Raiders, they're already sitting everybody, putting everybody on IR. Chiefs really doesn't matter. You're a 3rd string quarterback. This is 100% going to be the worst game of the week because Raiders have been trying to tank for the past 3 weeks. Chiefs are starting their 3rd string quarterback. I would be shocked if Kelsey or any other starters play in this game. This is going to be the battle of the worst teams in the league in terms of quarterback play. So this is what a 10-6 game, 10-3 game, if that, 7-3. And that being said, I'm still going the Chiefs because the Raiders are in full, and I mean full, tank mode. So let's go Chiefs, I guess. Hurt your drafts for all the Chiefs haters out there. Get a less good draft pick. Last game, my Philadelphia Eagles 11-5 at the 4-12 Commanders at the 11-5 Eagles. It is nice that for the first time all season, the Eagles will play 2 home games so they don't have to travel. That's at least the silver lining of this game. But I think Bears win their game against the Lions, so I don't really think this game matters in the grand scheme of things. I think Eagles coaching staff and players kind of know that as well. They're basically locked into the 3rd seed at this spot. I do think, as an Eagles fan, obviously I'm going to be watching this game. The one thing I want to see from this game is Tanner McKee. Is he him? Can you make a legitimate case that the issue is not in the Kevin Petulu offensive scheme, but in how Jalen Hurts plays in that offensive scheme? Because all of a sudden, if Tanner McKee with backups is in this game and the offense just looks lights out, they're scoring 30 plus points a game, then you can, as a Hurts defender, then we can legitimately start having the conversation of it's Hurts, not Petulu. Because if Petulu plays this offensive, game plan and just shuts out a team that's starting their starters, Eagles have their backups in, all of a sudden the defense or the offense looks elite. The schemes are going, passes are being completed. Tanner McKee throws for 250 plus, 3 touchdowns, all that kind of stuff. then we can start having the discussion about Hurts and this offense and the coaching and what all the Hurts haters want to say. Now, do I think that'll happen? No, because I've watched the games all season. And again, I don't know how many football people have to say, oh, yeah, it's the scheme. Like, look at how dumb this formation is. Who is he supposed to throw to? Like, all that kind of stuff. I do think it's Patulu who is the issue, and to a certain extent, Nick Sirianni. But again, if I'm proven wrong, I'm proven wrong, and I'll fully admit that on the show. That being said, Eagles starters, Eagles backups, I still think Eagles win, just an ugly game where Commanders are most likely tanking this game as well, just for a higher draft pick. Eagles are not tanking this game, but this game really doesn't matter to them. They're sitting their starters to rest, get ready for the playoffs, which again, I think is a smart move because I don't think there's that big of a difference from the second or third seed this year, especially when basically the game's going to have to come, or basically the players are going to have to come down to, can you win on the road in one of the NFC West teams? So there you go. That has been the good, the mid, and the ugly for week 18, final week of the 2025 season, final week of the NFL season before we head into playoffs. And this is once again us here saying Happy New Year 2026. Oh, you know what? I did save a video. So there you go. This is from Casino and I and the Only Sports Podcast. Happy New Year 2026. Cheers to a fresh start. That's the only picture I ever use of me in Casino because we're guys. So why we take pictures when we're together? I mean, I guess now we have to because we're doing the podcast and I need pictures of us to put on our thumbnails, but we always just forget. We hang out in person a lot. We just never take pictures together because again, we're guys. So this has been the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. Casino, again, we wish him well going into the new year. Hopefully he gets better. Apparently it's a stomach bug, all this kind of stuff that's destroying him. Again, looks and acts like Bubble Boy. Thank you to everybody for not only this episode, but for this year. We've had the first episode we had where we were getting comments and a lot of people commenting was the best show we've ever done. My favorite show. So trying to recreate that just experience going into 2026. Hopefully we get a lot of comments, a lot of people joining the show. The show is a lot more fun when it's more interactive, and you guys, the people watching live on YouTube, on Rumble, on X, are kind of steering the show, and that's where it is more fun. Also, shout out to everybody on X. Since I said we've been doing live shows on there, we've just been getting a lot of follows on that account now for an account I never use. I promise I will start going and doing the updates and live tweeting the shows and all that kind of stuff. Now, before we get out of here, the last thing we have to talk about is college football. We have games going on right now, but the games we care about are the playoff games that are happening tomorrow on New Year's Day, and there's even one happening on New Year's Eve tonight. So let's start there. We'll add these into the picks that will count for our season total. So before I get out of here, just go through these real quick. Miami, Ohio State tonight. Do I think Miami can pull off the upset? Yes. Do I think they will? No. I've gone back and forth with this, been looking at it all last night, all this morning, and I just think Ohio State gets this one done. So I'm picking Ohio State. Now the next one, Oregon, Texas Tech. I'm actually going with the upset in this one. Or would it be an upset? I don't know, but I think I'm going with Texas Tech. I feel like I've seen a lot of people picking Oregon, even though Oregon is the 5 seed. This is for the Orange Bowl tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I will be watching all these games, but I am going with Texas Tech. I just think this is the Oregon game that Oregon always loses every year, even though I think Oregon is the better team than Texas Tech, but again, I'm still going with Texas Tech. Now, the game I will be watching every second of and I'm most excited for, number 9 Alabama, number 1 Indiana. Please, football gods, dear Lord, do not start the year off with just this emergence of a potential Alabama and Patriots rebirth of their dynasties, where all of a sudden the Patriots have a shot at being the number one seed in the AFC, have a real shot at going to the Super Bowl in the AFC, and Alabama, all of a sudden, if they would upset Indiana tomorrow, now just has a real shot at just Alabama's back, roll tide, all that kind of stuff. Dear Lord, Indiana, please beat Alabama. And I am picking Indiana. I'm going with the football gods. They don't hate us that much. So I'm going with Indiana. In the Sugar Bowl, we have number 6 Ole Miss at number 3 Georgia. If you're Ole Miss, how do any of your players fight for your coach when he did what he did and just left a one-loss team to go to a rival in the SEC? So I'm going with Georgia strictly on vibes. I do think the Georgia team is better just across the board, but also on vibes. I mean, that Ole Miss team just has to be so down from what happened with their coach and that weird stuff. I mean, are they really? Probably not, because they would all do it for NIL money too, rightfully so. But yeah, I'm saying in the Sugar Bowl, it is going to be Georgia. Rose Bowl, it's going to be Indiana. Orange Bowl is going to be Texas Tech. And then Cotton Bowl, I almost want to pick Florida, but I almost want to pick Miami, but I'm going Ohio State. So we're going chalk, but I do think those are the best teams. The real upsets I could see, Oregon or Texas Tech. I don't feel like either of those are an upset. I don't see Ole Miss beating Georgia. The upsets I could see are Florida, Miami, Florida over Ohio State, and then Alabama over Indiana. I don't know why I keep calling Miami Florida. That's a different football team, but you get what I'm saying. I'm picking chalk across the board. I just think we'll see the best 4 teams in the Fiesta Bowl and Peach Bowl. But yeah, you could sway me on Miami. You could sway me on Alabama. I hope Miami beats Ohio State. I feel like that would be more fun. God, I pray that Alabama does not beat Indiana. There we go. I'll have Casino's picks on Friday. Also join me Friday for another solo show. Maybe I'll try to get Casino on the Friday show since he wasn't on this one. But Friday, we'll be doing the last Super Bowl bubble before we get to the playoffs, the last power rankings before we get to the playoffs, because then in the playoffs, we're going to only do power rankings with the teams that are in there. So we'll do last full power rankings and last Super Bowl bubble before the playoffs start this Friday. Join me right back here, 1 p.m. West Coast time. I believe it's PST is how you say that. 1 p.m. PST on Friday for another solo show and our first show of the new year. So we'll see you Friday. I've been Will. This has been the Only Sports Podcast. Adios, and I'll see you in the new year. Happy New Year's 2026. Going to be the best year ever.